In a world where many 1990s cars have long since disappeared from the roads, some rare survivors still remain, and they tell a fascinating story about an era of bold automotive design and engineering experimentation. This is the 1994 Pontiac Grand Prix SE Coupe, a car that perfectly captures the spirit of Pontiac during the 1990s. At the time, Pontiac marketed itself as the excitement division of General Motors, and the Grand Prix was one of the brand's most recognizable performance-inspired coupes. The version you're looking at belongs to the sixth-generation Grand Prix, built on GM's W-body platform. Introduced in the late 1980s and continuing through the mid-1990s, the W-body lineup represented General Motors' effort to modernize front-wheel drive performance cars while keeping them practical enough for everyday drivers. But what truly makes this particular Grand Prix interesting is not just its styling. It's what's under the hood. Powering this 1994 Grand Prix SE Coupe is the 3.4-liter LQ1 twin dual-cam V6 engine. This engine was one of the most advanced power plants General Motors offered in the early 1990s. The LQ1 was a 24-valve V6 featuring dual overhead camshafts per cylinder bank, which is why Pontiac called it twin dual cam. At a time when many American cars still relied on simpler pushrod engines, this high-revving DOHC design was a major step forward in performance technology. The engine produced 210 horsepower and 215 pound-feet of torque, impressive numbers for a front-wheel drive coupe of the era. In fact, this engine allowed the Grand Prix to deliver smooth acceleration and strong mid-range power while maintaining the comfort expected from a midsize American car. All that power was sent to the front wheels through a 4-speed automatic transmission, a common setup during the early 1990s. While manual transmissions were available on some versions of the LQ1 engine, most buyers opted for the automatic for daily usability. The Grand Prix SE Coupe weighed in at around 3,400 pounds, giving it a balanced combination of stability and performance. For a car of its size, the power-to-weight ratio was respectable, allowing it to reach highway speeds with ease. Styling was another highlight of the sixth-generation Grand Prix. This car is finished in bright aqua metallic, a color that perfectly reflects the vibrant automotive palettes of the early 1990s. It's a shade that immediately stands out today because modern cars rarely offer such bold and playful colors. Inside, the car features a green cloth interior, another unmistakable design signature of the era. During the 1990s, manufacturers were not afraid to experiment with interior colors that matched or complemented the exterior paint, and Pontiac was one of the brands that embraced that trend. The seats are designed for comfort during long drives, while still providing enough support for spirited driving. Pontiac engineers wanted the Grand Prix to feel like a sporty coupe without sacrificing everyday practicality. Speaking of practicality, the Grand Prix also offered a surprisingly large trunk. With 14.9 cubic feet of cargo space, the trunk was spacious enough for luggage, groceries, or even road trip gear. That made the Grand Prix more versatile than many other coupes on the market at the time. The car rides on 16-inch aluminum wheels, which helped enhance both handling and appearance. For the early 1990s, 16-inch wheels were considered relatively sporty and gave the Grand Prix a more aggressive stance. Inside the dashboard, you'll find one of the most nostalgic features of this car, the original Delco 2001 AM/FM cassette stereo system with a graphic equalizer. For many drivers in the 1990s, this stereo setup was the centerpiece of the driving experience. Cassette tapes allowed drivers to bring their favorite music on the road, while the graphic equalizer gave them control over the sound profile. Today, it's a reminder of a time before streaming services and Bluetooth connectivity, when road trips often began with carefully selecting the perfect cassette tape. But perhaps the most interesting detail about this Grand Prix lies in the engine itself. Here's a fun fact. The LQ1 twin dual-cam engine was used exclusively in first-generation W-body cars between 1991 and 1997. This means the engine was installed in vehicles like the Pontiac Grand Prix, Chevrolet Lumina Z34, Oldsmobile Cutlass Supreme International, and a few other performance-oriented models within General Motors' lineup. Because of its advanced design and relatively complex construction, the LQ1 engine became something of a legend among GM enthusiasts. It was powerful and smooth, but also required careful maintenance compared to traditional pushrod engines. That combination of performance and complexity made it both admired and misunderstood. Over time, many of these cars disappeared due to mechanical neglect, rust, or simply the passage of time. As a result, clean surviving examples like this 1994 Pontiac Grand Prix SE Coupe are becoming increasingly rare. Cars like this represent a very specific moment in American automotive history. It was a time when manufacturers were experimenting with new engine technologies, bold styling, and unique interior designs, all while transitioning toward the modern vehicles we see today. The sixth-generation Grand Prix may not always receive the same recognition as classic muscle cars from the 1960s, but it represents an important chapter in Pontiac's story. It shows how the brand tried to blend performance, style, and everyday usability into a single package. And for enthusiasts who appreciate the distinctive personality of 1990s American cars, the Grand Prix remains a fascinating piece of automotive history. Today, surviving examples like this bright aquametallic coupe serve as rolling time capsules, reminders of a decade when car manufacturers were willing to take risks, experiment with technology, and create vehicles that stood out from the crowd. And that's exactly why this car survived. Because sometimes, a car isn't just transportation. Sometimes it's a story of engineering ambition, bold design, and the unmistakable character of the 1990s Pontiac Grand Prix.